The major advantage here is just by filtering down in your CRM, you're going to see which channels, which campaigns, which ad groups, and even which targeting is resulting in your best leads and your best clients.
This is the B2B Performance Marketing Podcast by Webmarketer, here to help you make the right moves with your B2B advertising. No spin, no smoke and mirrors, just honest insights from the advertising front line.
So here we are, episode 1. Welcome. I'm Maelien.
And I'm Louis. And today we're going to be exploring one of the most challenging aspects of B2B marketing, which is measurement. We all know that you can only improve what you can measure. But in B2B, measuring performance often feels like a puzzle where a lot of the pieces are missing. So today we're going to be exploring eCommerce and how they've got it so much easier on the measurement front.
They do, don't they? They have return on ad spend, or ROAS, which is a really nice metric to see how profitable their ads are. Now, we don't have an equivalent in B2B. Everything's a little bit more indirect here.
So the way to think about ROAS is that it's how many pounds in sales were generated for each pound of ad spend. So if you have a ROAS of 5, that means £5 of sales generated for every £1 spent on ads. In e-commerce, measuring that ROAS is so much easier because you just connect your website to your ad account and everything is measured out of the box. Ad agencies will literally pitch new prospective clients based on the ROAS that they can achieve, and then that single metric becomes the heartbeat of the relationship. It's mentioned in every report and pretty much every conversation with the client. But in B2B, we don't have a metric like that. And actually, to get anywhere near that, it's way more difficult to set up. Because if we think about it, in B2B, because we're typically building relationships which takes more time, it also takes more touch points across different marketing channels, and we also need different pieces of software to deliver that. So setting up any kind of way to measure return is really, really tricky, and let's be honest, it's not done anywhere near enough. So ROAS is e-commerce's superpower, but in B2B, we have to create our own tracking and build our own metrics to get anything as useful.
Unfortunately, that's just too true. E-commerce has it so much easier when it comes to tracking. They have one data set, one journey, and one platform. When an e-commerce site is set up on something like WooCommerce or Shopify, they're almost guaranteed to have similar events. So things like view product, add to cart, initiate checkout, and eventually completing the purchase. Google Analytics even has a whole section dedicated to that process. Because it's a nice clean flow, it's really easy to see how people move through that journey and where to optimize based on what people are abandoning.
Yeah, that's the big difference. In e-commerce, you've got these nice, clean, linear sales funnels. But in B2B, you've basically just got spaghetti. There's no one standard journey and no plug and play option. We've got people booking demos, joining webinars, downloading lead magnets, emailing in, phoning in, and all sorts of other different events. And none of those are happening in any particular order. So each of those things are more like a little nudge towards the main event, being the sales inquiry, rather than an action along a linear journey. Each one of those things can trigger the start of that sales process, or it can also be the final piece in the sales process. So to take all of that information and put it into one simple standardized report, it's going to take a ton of specialized work.
And all of that really brings us on to talk about the CRM. For B2B performance marketing, the CRM is really one of the biggest assets that we have. It's where all of our customer interactions lives, and you're probably already using it to track sales. But here's the thing. Most SMBs don't realize that they can connect their CRM to their ads. They can then track which channels, campaigns, ad group, and even the targeting led to a lead at the deal level. And shockingly, not enough agencies let their clients know that this is a possibility or recommend doing this.
When B2B performance marketing is done right, it's not just about getting the most leads for the lowest cost. It's actually much more about getting the right leads for the highest value. So what you were talking about there, Maelien, is a massive missed opportunity, because by connecting your ads to your CRM, you can measure quality and value and not just quantity and cost, which is what you'll get in the ad platforms. Most B2B ad programs focus on driving down the cost per lead, which on the face of it looks amazing. So if you sign into your ads account, it's going to look great. But there's a hidden story here that we're going to have to remember. Because from a commercial perspective, when you're so focused on driving down that cost per lead, you run the risk of bringing the lead quality down with it as well. And this actually has some pretty serious implications, because not only is your lead quality going to be falling, but actually you're going to be spending more time qualifying leads, less time closing them. You're going to get more complaints from your sales team, and actually potentially a worse return as well. But here's the thing. Leads is what everyone talks about because it's the easy thing to measure, right? But I bet you that businesses like yours don't want leads. In reality, you actually want sales. So to drive home the point, by connecting your CRM to your ads, you're going to make sure that you're driving the right leads, so the ones that are most likely to turn into sales, not the cheapest ones, which are the ones that are most likely to cause problems. So let's take a quick look at how to do this in practice. And a word of warning, we're going to get a little bit technical. So if you want to grab a pen and paper, now's a good time to pause and do that. Or alternatively, there is also a video version of this. So if you want visuals, then go ahead and check that out.
Let's run through how to do this. So if you're a HubSpot user, great news. They make this whole process really easy. And inside of their knowledge base is some really clear instructions that we'd recommend you take a look at and follow. But if you're using another CRM, they'll typically take more of a custom approach. So let's look at what you need to do. There are 3 main steps here. First off, we're going to get extra data and put that into the URLs for the ads. This is often referred to as UTM tracking. We typically use source, so google.com, facebook.com, linkedin.com, medium, like paid search, paid social, and performance max, term for keywords or targeting, content for the ad group ID or the ad description. If your Google ads are linked to your Google Analytics and you're using auto tagging, there's a few more steps that we'd recommend taking here, and it gets a little bit tricky. We'll cover this when we add the episode to the website as a blog post. So step 1 was adding data to your URLs at the ad account level. Step 2 is going to be setting up your website and your landing pages to capture that data. This is done by adding hidden fields to the forms on your website so that when they're submitted, you're also pulling that data from your URLs in with it. Now the ads are set up to pull more information through the URLs, and the forms on your websites are set up to capture all this information. Finally, step 3 is to make sure that that information is updating the deals in your CRM. For this, we like to use tools like Zapier.
Now it's worth mentioning that this whole approach only works when someone fills in a form on the landing page after they've clicked an ad. If they click through to a second page on your website, this whole process breaks down because all of that extra data you added to the URL will be stripped out. This catches so many people out, but there's a way around it, and it's called link decoration. Now, link decoration is something that I like to set up in Google Tag Manager. And basically what it means is that all of that extra data in the URL will stay in place when someone clicks a link, so that when someone fills in a form on a second, a third, or any different page really, that data's still going to be there and it's going to be captured by the form.
So in a nutshell, there's a few simple steps to unlock being able to measure lead quality from your ads. You want your ads to pass the data into your landing pages. Then you want the forms on your landing pages to be able to capture that data. And finally, you want to make sure that that data is being passed into your CRM. The major advantage here is just by filtering down in your CRM, you're going to see which channels, which campaigns, which ad groups, and even which targeting is resulting in your best leads and your best clients.
Yeah, so while this isn't quite as straightforward as ROAS is in e-commerce, it's going to take a little bit of custom work, and then you're going to be able to see exactly what's moving the needle for your ads. And as a bit of a side note, this is going to set you up to measure ROI in the future as well. But that's a topic for another episode.
If you found this useful, please leave us a review. Our goal is to remove the smoke and mirrors from the B2B advertising world, and reviews will really help us towards this.
And if you've got a burning question or are facing a challenge that you'd like us to explore, just let us know. You can head to webmarketeruk.com/topic and fill in the form. We really want to make every episode as useful as possible, and we read every single message. Catch you on the next episode.